The webinar will be made available to everybody after today, probably within 24 hours for those of you who can't make it through the whole time or want to tune in later. Let's get started right away. First thing is, I don't believe that we are going to go the entire 2 hours. We should probably wrap it up under 45 minutes to an hour. So for those of you that have other things, I just wanted to let you know how long we're probably going to go. Next slide. Within this hour, some of the things that we're going to cover is a basic overview of the homeless RFP itself, the responsibilities and the roles of the reviewers, the timeline, and also within the reviewers' responsibilities, we're also going to cover briefly how to log in and get into Cybergrants to submit your reviews, the timeline, and at the end we'll have a few moments for question and answering. If you have questions during the webinar, you can go ahead and type them into the question box, but we will be addressing them at the end of the webinar. Okay, thank you. The RFP itself goes into an overview of Chicago's homeless system. For those of you that are not familiar with Chicago's homeless system, DFSS is just a part of the entire system. However, this RFP is very important in terms of the shelters and the programs that we fund that are in line with the continuum of services for the city of Chicago. And the RFP gives a pretty basic overview of the system. If you want more information about the system, I highly recommend that you read the City of Chicago's Plan 2.0, as well as the Continuum of Care's All Chicago's website if you want more information about the entire system overall. The RFP itself, its goals are in line with Plan 2.0, as well as the program models chart that discusses all of the program models that the City of Chicago has approved and tries to implement when providing homeless services in the City of Chicago. This past year, DFSS Homeless Division has put together a homeless strategic framework, which the RFP also touches upon. The framework has 5 essential goals that DFSS has implemented to provide homeless services in the City of Chicago. Those 5 goals are 1, prevention, 2, shelter, 3, outreach and engagement, 4, housing supports, and 5, system and planning and coordination. You'll find that the RFP itself has program types or models that you can apply for that all fall under those 5 broad goals in the DFSS Homeless Strategic Framework. Also in the RFP, programmatic standards and guidelines. This is a basic overview of what programs and shelters in the City of Chicago should have and operate under. Those are also found in the RFP that can help you when you're reviewing applications. And then finally, program types. There are over 20 program types in the RFP itself. Please don't feel overwhelmed. Each program type is explained, and each application can only apply under 1 program type. So basically, you don't have to go backwards and forwards in the document to find exactly which program type the applicant or the application that you're reviewing. There's only 1 per application. In the RFP, each program type is described in the description, and it also has requirements and performance measures under that program type that the application has to address and significantly respond to for your scoring. We get to the reviewer's responsibilities. All of the applications will be reviewed under the Cybergrants system. You should be able to go to the website, log in, or if you don't have a profile, Julia Talbot later in the presentation will discuss on how to create one. Another responsibility is a certification. All reviewers will be signing a certification in regards to the confidentiality of what they've reviewed and what they cannot share while reviewing. In your Cybergrants profile, you will be assigned applications. We ask that you review all of the applications that are assigned to you. If you determine that you are not going to be able to read all of the applications that are assigned to you, we ask that you please contact us as soon as possible so that we can make arrangements. We don't have as many as reviewers as we liked this year, of course. We're always short. So we ask that if you are not going to be able to finish all of your reviews, that you let us know right away. Another reviewer responsibility is, of course, you have to score each application, but the comments that you provide in each evaluation is just as important as the score that you give. We ask that you be very descriptive and complete in your comments, that they be very on point as to why you gave the range of points that you did. Please also be aware that your comments are public record. They're available for anyone to see after the presentation or after the evaluation process. So please try to use as many complete thoughts and sentences as you can, and please try to be somewhat politically correct when you provide your comments as well. And then finally, the submission. Cybergrants, and as Julia will tell you further in this application, will allow you to go in and save your work as you go along, so you don't have to review one application and then lose your work. You can provide some work in there and then leave and come back. However, your evaluation is not submitted until you finally hit the submission button at the bottom. So I just wanted you to be aware of that. Okay, an application overview. Like I said previously, one application can only have one program type per application, so you should be able to turn to that program type and be able to find all of the requirements and performance measures associated with that type. The application is divided and scored by the following. Organizational capacity is at 25% of the 25 points of the application. The proposed program is another 25 points. The budget, justification, and leverage is another 20 points. Program quality and impact is 20 points, and overall responsiveness is 10 points. You can also find these items on pages 46 and 47 of the RFP if you're wanting to know more about the scoring ranges. Along with your application review, you're going to receive an evaluation scoring tool this week. The evaluation scoring tool was developed by the Homeless Division to use to score each application and give you guidance as you go through it. You'll notice that when you get the evaluation scoring tool, there are questions that emphasize the DFSS priorities, meaning you'll see where we've assigned more points to the things that DFSS has identified as a priority. You'll also be assisted in how to award points. You'll be giving direct guidance as to how many points to give for each point of the RFP. And it provides objective scoring among the reviewers. The guidance that we give you on how many points can be allotted per topic is mandatory. So if we give only 2 points for some point in the application, please stay within that point range. Parts of the evaluation tool. The evaluation tool is a simple spreadsheet that will provide you a column with the topic, a column with the standard question that was provided to all of the applicants in the application, the RFP, by the City of Chicago. Then there's another column that shows you the additional question or another question that the Homeless Division layered on top of the standard question that is specifically guided to see if they are in line with what DFSS's strategic framework is. Then there's another column that's directed to you, the reviewer, which is the evaluation question. Those are questions that you will be given to sort of look through the narrative and look through the responses to see if the applicant has provided you exactly with what DFSS, the Homeless Division, has asked. And then there's another column that shows you the points associated with those questions, the evaluator guidance. It gives you specifically the point ranges within the allotments, within the points that the 5-point areas that the RFP has identified, on exactly how many to give. So for example, if they were to provide a letter of support, there's exactly a number of points associated with providing that letter of support. If they were supposed to address their previous experience, it has a certain number of points for that previous experience that's described. And then the last column is the possible points, the total points that they could receive on that particular topic. Application responses. Here are the 6 things that DFSS, apart from, from the points that have been given to specific areas, these 6 things are what the Homeless Division is exactly looking for inside each application. The first thing is, of course, administrative capacity. Are they fiscally sound? Do they have site standards that are in compliance with the program standards and such as that? Appropriate service delivery. Did they describe exact delivery of services that was identified in the program type of the RFP? Did they meet program requirements? Within each program type under the RFP, there are program requirements that they must have. Did they address those things, and do they have all of those things? Achieve performance measures. Did they address their performance measures, and whether they met them or whether they didn't, what is their strategy to achieve those performance measures that are under the program type in the RFP? There are points associated with that. And then finally, monitoring expenditures and monitoring performance. As you know, for renewals and even for new projects, how programs monitor their expenditures and monitor their performance and use their performance data to dictate and drive their performance is very important. And then finally, the 10% match. It's not just a matter of 10% match. Do they bring enough leverage and in-kind services to the program that will complement the services that they're providing, as well as provide removal of barriers for the population that they plan to serve? In the following few slides, I'm going to try to divide up and explain to you under each of the scoring categories where you can find that information, either in the RFP or what documents you could use to help you identify that score. So for administrative and site standards, that's pretty simple to judge whether an agency or a program has administrative capacity. You can find guidelines in the RFP under Section 3 that provide what a shelter or what a program must have in place in order to have a strong capacity. What you'll also be using is a facility assessment. A facility assessment is an attachment required in the RFP for the program to describe, does their site meet ADA and 504 standards, or if not, do they have an ADA plan or a 504 plan that will address how they can serve persons with disabilities. A facility assessment is required of all applications. Even if they only have an administrative site, they should submit a facility assessment based on that site. Okay, if they have more than one site, if they're providing services at more than one site, they should be submitting multiple facility assessments. Okay, those are very important to DFSS. The next thing is the HMIS data quality and monitoring report. That sounds a lot more complex than it sounds. DFSS has put together information for you to confirm and verify whether each agency has met its HMIS data quality standards and whether it has any findings under fiscal and monitoring, fiscal or programmatic reporting. If an agency or an applicant has said that they have no findings, you'll be able to verify that with this DFSS report. If they do have findings, they can address those findings and what corrective action plans they've taken place in the application. And the evaluating tool will help you through determining how you can score them on those plans. Some of the other things that will help you with capacity is attachments to the application. We require 2 letters of support from each organization. There was a little bit of confusion about the letters of support in the RFP. There were 2 different places that required letters of support, but administrative capacity is where you'll be looking at those letters of support, and there's only a minimum of 2. Also, an attachment to the RFP is an organizational chart. You'll receive an organizational chart for the program itself, as well as probably for its administrative personnel. Those can help you determine how many points they should be given and awarded under administrative capacity, as well as the resumes and job descriptions of the staff that will be working on the program and the fiscal management. When we say that we're going to be looking for appropriate service delivery, that is really scored under all of the selection criteria, both the general and the homeless. So some of the resource documents that you can use to see if they're really delivering appropriate services is the RFP itself in the requirements, the description, and the performance measures. If you're totally new to the homeless system, or even if you are familiar with the homeless system in Chicago, I can't stress enough that looking at Plan 2.0's program models chart will help you determine what kind of services are required to address homeless barriers in the city. That is a really good tool to use. You can also be looking at the attachments that the application provides for you on client policies and procedures. That includes their grievance procedures, their involuntary termination procedures, and discharge procedures. How are they handling client issues in their policies? Another place to look at appropriate service delivery is the staff qualifications or the staff resumes themselves. Another place to look for that is in their past performance with DFSS and with other programs. And finally, their strategy on how to achieve the outcomes associated with the program type. Meeting those program requirements. Some of the resource documents that you can use, again, are the RFP that lays out all of the program requirements. Also the shelter and program guidelines that we provide you a little further up in the RFP. It's on section 3. Those are all of the mandatory things a shelter or a program under this RFP has to have. You can also see if they're meeting program requirements under their staff qualifications or their resumes. The budget and work program that they will attach can also show you whether they're meeting the program requirements. And we'll talk a bit about those later, I believe. And their linkage agreements. If they're not providing direct services or they cannot provide direct services of some sort, do they have a linkage agreement or do they have an MOU, or in their letter of support, have they addressed how they can meet that service requirement? How to achieve performance measures. Some of the resource documents that you can use to see about achieving their performance measures are the HMIS Data Quality and Monitoring Report, their declarations in the application, how they have an evaluation strategy or a performance strategy that will help them achieve or meet their performance measures, and the monitoring and evaluation strategy provided by the applicant, which I just said, of course. And then I would always go back to the Plan 2.0 program models chart. The core elements at the beginning of the chart also describes some of the services that are required from homeless programs all along the continuum that we would like to be aligned with. Monitoring expenditures and performance. We've provided to you the fiscal and programmatic, I'm sorry, this actually should have been the DFSS HMIS Data Quality and Monitoring Report. I guess that change didn't get saved. But that report will show you whether an agency is in compliance with data quality as well as fiscal and program monitoring. It won't provide you in detail what exactly they are in non-compliance with. However, that is their applicant's responsibility to address in the application itself, and along with their corrective action plan if there is a finding. If the applicant doesn't describe their findings, the evaluation tool will guide you on how to help score that. Okay. And then finally, responsiveness. Applicants have to provide direct and complete responses to all of the questions. The evaluation scoring tool, again, will give you clear guidance as to what is complete responses on the overall application, and all of the attachments have to be attached. We've already discussed some of them. The facility assessment is an attachment that's very important. Of course, the budget and the work plan are attachments, and as well as some of the policies and procedures that we talked about, and I'm forgetting something.
Letters.
The letters of support, thank you. The evaluation scoring tool specifically states all that checklist that I just gave you, and you'll be able to figure out or determine exactly how many points they should get if they've not supplied one of those items, or if they supplied it and it wasn't complete. Okay. Some reviewers' tips. Having been an experienced reviewer, I've reviewed many of these applications. I will tell you that Cybergrants, you need to use your preferred method of reading, whether it be on the screen or whether you need to print it out. Cybergrants will allow you to do both. I prefer to print out the scoring sheet and use that, and whether I have a printout or on screen, I complete the scoring sheet and then go back and put in the points. So Cybergrants is pretty flexible and will allow you to do all of that if you are against printing all of these applications. It would also allow you to download the PDF and save them on your computer so that you don't have to be on Wi-Fi. You can email them to yourself and review them in PDF format someplace else, like on a beach someplace. So these are just some options. You have to figure out what is comfortable for you so that you can review these applications. And like I said earlier, don't forget that you can save your work in Cybergrants, but you haven't submitted unless you hit the submit button at the bottom. And of course, the reviewer tip is always start reviews early. All right, now I'm going to pass it over to Julia Talbot from the DFSS Procurement Department, and she'll talk to you a little bit about Cybergrants.
Okay, good morning. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about Cybergrants. You're going to log in at Cybergrants, which is www.cybergrants.com, and let me think about things. So this is how it's going to work. When you are not going to be able to log into cybergrants.com until the evaluation is set up in Cybergrants, and that doesn't generally happen until, you know, a day or two after the applications come in. So please remember this. Please do not try to log into Cybergrants prior to that, because you're going to find that to be a frustrating experience because you're not going to be able to do it. I get a lot of phone calls about not being able to log into Cybergrants, and that has to do with the fact that your account hasn't been set up. I'm going to log into my account, which should be able to, if I can do it correctly, always a challenge. Let me just, I'll use this as an opportunity to talk about logging into Cybergrants. It's kind of fussy. If you put a space, like I just did there, it's not, the space counts, and so it will say you are invalid. Everybody's password will be set to welcome1, capital W, welcome, with the letter 1. And so that is, let's see, now I'm typing welcome1 as my password, which is bad because that's not what it is. Let's see, there we go. So this is somebody else's thing. Generally speaking, let's just go through a couple of different features that you have here. So everything in blue, you can generally, your screen is going to look different than this, but the general global rules about Cybergrants are everything in blue you can click on and it will open. If you click on the name of the organization, which is in that left-hand corner, it's going to draw up the organization information. So it will be like the board of directors and their audit and the kind of functional aspects of the application. It is not going to bring up the application itself. To get to the application, you would have to go to the grant request amount, that number, or that, yeah, the number. And that's when you click on that, it's going to open up your application. Maybe you can click on that now. Again, your screen is going to look a little bit different than mine, but this is what the application looks like in Cybergrants. Scroll up a little bit. You can see along this blue border, it says PDF or W. If you click on those, the application will be downloaded as a PDF file, which you can save to your laptop, or you can print out, or you can do whatever you want with. Trust me, I've read enough that I've thought of many things I could do with these applications, not all of them very nice. I prefer the PDF version. I do not over the Word version, but that's just because the Word version means that you can go in and you could go in and make comments that they will not be uploaded, but you can go in and if you're me, inevitably you'll highlight something and delete it by mistake, and that's not really part of how you're supposed to be operating as an evaluator. Now, if you scroll within, why don't we scroll down in this PDF a little bit? No, I'll go back to the PDF, please. Thank you. If you scroll down in the PDF a little bit, you're going to see where there are attachments. I don't know exactly where in this application there are attachments, but there are some. There we go. See the clothesline project there. So that is where somebody has done an attachment. It is not, the attachment is not going to come up in your PDF. I wish it did. I'm sure if we made a movie about cybergrants, it would populate immediately. It would be really easy. But this isn't a movie. This is the city of Chicago. And ultimately, to open the PDFs, you're going to have to go back into that application. Yeah, there you go. And there you go. See, it says that's the PDF. You go in, you click on it, see how it's blue. That's the theme. Blue things are things that you can open, and then you can go in and you can see this fabulous org chart or whatever else that people have been asked to upload. In your case, I know you guys have a lot of photos for your facility assessment, so you'll be seeing a lot of photos for facility assessment with any luck. Sometimes we have a problem with Cybergrants that it won't allow people to upload the thousands of megabytes or whatever of files, and so somebody inevitably gets kicked out or has a problem. But anyway, so this is how you're going to go and look at those attachments, so you can close that out. Now, the other thing that you need to know about Cybergrants is on the right-hand side, that upper, see the green file? So if you're in the middle of doing your evaluation and you have, scintillating comments that you've been sharing with us and all sorts of lovely things, but then all of a sudden you have to go to a meeting or stop reviewing for whatever reason. If you hit that green save button, it will save your work. So it will save your notes, and you should be able to go back in later and complete that. Let's see, if you were looking at other tips that might be helpful that I can show you on the screen, on the left-hand column where it says approval. So when you pull up, not the timeline, the other, go up to approval. There we go. So if you go up, so you're going to open it, you'll see the application. If you hit approval, it will go down to the place where you would actually enter things in. It will not look like this. This is what mine looks like, and it's very different. Yours will not look like this. If it looks like this, give me a call because something's dramatically wrong, but it will have the evaluation criteria. It will have text boxes for you to answer your comments. And at the bottom, it will say something that says record input or something equally like obtuse. That like, and when you hit record input, that means you've submitted your application. So don't record input until you're really ready for it to be recorded. If you do record input prior to this, you can give me a call. I can turn it back, or we can figure out ways for you to give me whatever information we need to put into the application or your evaluation. I would have to say Cybergrants is a pretty good system. It's pretty functional. It does what it's supposed to do. I think it works pretty well. I've been doing this long enough that I guess I like to remind my children as well, and I will remind you, trust me, there are no new mistakes. So no matter what you do in the context and evaluation, if you think that you've done something wrong, chances are somebody else has done it wrong before you, and we know how to fix it. So don't be shy about calling me or emailing me, which is even better, about whatever needs to be fixed. And I think that's probably all I really have to say about Cybergrants, but I think you have my number.
There'll be a slide with your contact information.
There's a slide with my contact information. You can always call me. You can always email me. Sometimes people really do get into trouble, and I will throw them to Braylon McLaren over at OBM or Cybergrants. But generally speaking, if you're having a problem with Cybergrants or accessing whatever, give me a call. Just remember, your account is not going to be set up, and you are not going to be able to access Cybergrants until probably a day after the applications come in. Just as Adriana will send you an email, and we'll send you an email, individual emails about what your login is. Everybody's password, at least to begin with, will be welcome1, which is capital WELCOME1, the number 1 rather. And thank you so much for doing this. You are providing the department with a real service, and we really, really appreciate. Everybody's busy, and we really, really appreciate your taking the time to help us.
we go back to the timeline slide? Also in the email that you receive either from Tammy or from somebody from DFSS, you will also receive the reviewer manual that is also online that goes through the steps that Julia just discussed. If you missed that in a blink of an eye, you can get that. Now we're going to discuss the timeline. So the RFPs are due back to Cybergrants by noon on the 26th. Unfortunately, DFSS has a really tight timeline for review. We are hoping to put the applications in your profile by no later than Wednesday the 29th, correct? For you to go in and to begin reviewing, and we're asking that they be back by Monday, July 10th, correct? That's a Monday? Yes. Yes, on Monday, July 10th. And we recognize that there's a holiday and there are vacations in between, but we would appreciate either prior notice or all the applications being done by July 10th. Okay. In that email also will be the link to this webinar and the resource documents that we discussed in this webinar. The evaluation scoring tool, the instructions to the tool, and the PMC, the program models chart, as well as the RFP for you to review. Okay. Here is the contact information for Tammy. If you need you can also contact either Cindy Rivera or myself at the Homeless Division, for those of you that know us, and we can try to get answers to your questions. If you need Julia's contact information, it's provided there, as well as the email to Cybergrants if your issue is larger than Julia, there. And then finally, last slide. This is very me. We haven't received any questions in the question box. However, I'm sure you'll have questions once you start either reviewing or not, but we would appreciate it if you have any questions so far. You could send us a message.
So we'll give you guys just a few more minutes to go ahead and type your questions in the questions panel.
We still don't have any questions. However, we know that once you start reviewing, there will be plenty of questions. And so what we can do is start a Q&A document that can go out to reviewers if we find any substantive questions. But please email us if you have any questions. Okay, I guess that concludes the webinar. Again, thank you for participating. Even if you're viewing this afterwards, we thank you for getting all the way to the thank you point. And thank you very much for reviewing. Have a great day.